The anime kicks off with a boy named Sable, lost in thoughts while sitting alone in the rain. Suddenly, a mysterious woman walks up to him and says that they have the same eye color. Fast forward 3 years, and Sable is at Wia's Royal Academy of Magic, where he's been voted weakest student in class by his classmates. He's being summoned to Headmaster Albus' office, which everyone knows is just code for pack your bags. While this occurs, Louve, a pint-sized witch with a temper hotter than dragon's breath, bangs on Albus' door like she's trying to break a Guinness World Record for the world's loudest tantrum. Poor Sable almost jumps out of his clothes. Luke tries to bulldoze her way into the headmaster's office, using Sable as a battering ram. Awk about a grand entrance. She is stopped by a wolf named Hold'em, who turns out to be a headmaster's loyal assistant. They make a lot of noise, which forces the headmaster to step out. Inside, Sable is given a cup of tea that he can barely sip without fear of Luke snatching it. Albus drops the bomb. Instead of expulsion, Sable's invited to a field program that was supposed to last for 3 years. According to her, it's less punishment and more opportunity to not get kicked out. Albus lays out her grand plan for a harmonious world where witches and churchgoers bake cookies together. Sable's in because who wouldn't want a vacation that ends with a degree in magic? Amidst the pep talk, Luke, turns out she's older than Instagram and TikTok combined, throws her hat into the ring. Sable's mind is blown. This tiny firecracker's been around for over 3 centuries. Next day, Sable joins Hort Kudo and the Fourth Wheel for what's shaping up to be a magical summer camp. Kudo, proud owner of the Fallen Beast badge, decides he's too cool for field trips with kids, setting off an argument. As they bond, Hort demonstrates some magic to Sable, who opens up about his fear of losing the little memories he had made during his 3-year stay at the Magic Academy, since he had lost all his memories before then. Professor Lukes makes a surprise visit to evaluate their progress. Sable stuns everyone by admitting his struggle to control magic. Lukes emphasizes the dangers of uncontrolled spells and encourages him to start fresh. Meanwhile, in the depths of the forest, a spy reports on village witches as a witch hunter plots their demise, perpetuating the church-witch conflict. Back at camp, Sable's group shares a meal where Hort's hearty appetite surprises them, likening it to a mage recharging magic. Concern grows for Kudo, who has gone missing after confronting robbers alone. Louve assures them it's not their fault, but Kudo had probably claimed that they were less than average and run right into the bandits and witch hunters' trap while trying to divert the witch hunters' attention. Luke's, ever the protector of their loot and skins, insists they don't try their luck against witch hunters, but instead, she offers to find Kudo herself. After Luke leaves, Hort, channeling her inner detective with a handkerchief from Louve's, tracks down Kudo with Sherlock-like precision. Stable's left amazed at her skills, wondering if there's anything this girl can't do. Stable and Hort stumble upon an irritating sight, a corpse shredded like cabbage by some monstrous beast on a rampage. Hort, clutching Kudo's severed tail like it's their last hope, urges Sable to flee like he's running from a herd of buffaloes. Because obviously, running away from danger is the most logical thing to do when faced with a bloodthirsty creature. Amidst the chaos, Kudo decides to showcase his tree-climbing skills, aiming for lizard-level agility. Unfortunately, his attempt ends with a not-so-graceful fall into a hunter's trap, twisting his ankle in the process. Hort, ever the bearer of chilling childhood tales, recounts her traumatic encounter with a witch hunter roasting corpses back in the day. She's now convinced that Kudo is in the crosshairs of a similar barbecue enthusiast. As Kudo's screams echo through the forest like a badly tuned orchestra, Hort is ready to charge headlong into danger. Sable, the voice of reason, or maybe just cautiousness, convinces her to hold off on the heroics for a moment, promising not to abandon her in this jungle of nightmares. Meanwhile, Kudo's luck hits rock bottom as he gets captured by the hunters, his magical attempts about as effective as a soggy spellbook against Tyrant's brute strength. Tyrant, the hunter with a name that screams, "I skip tea parties to wrestle bears," decides it's time to play a game of chop-chop with Kudo's hands. Just when it seems like game over, Professor Lu bursts onto the scene like a magical whirlwind, summoning her trusty familiar Luden to snatch Kudo from the jaws of maiming. Luke and Tyrant engage in a magical showdown, and just when things are looking dire, Sable and Hort show up like backup dancers at a magic-themed concert. Luke's, in her best mom mode on steroids, yells at them to run from the impending doom. But before they can make a clean getaway, Tyrant grabs Sable, his grip tighter than a corset on a Kardashian. Hort, recognizing that familiar "I'm about to crush you" look in Tyrant's eyes, braces for the worst. In a desperate bid to save Sable, Luke offers Luden's staff. Tyrant, unimpressed by magical artifacts and more focused on crushing dreams than insect-themed staffs, remains unmoved. Just when the tension is at its peak, Tyrant drops the bombshell that Hort has been playing double agent for the church. Cue dramatic flashback music and a guilt trip expressed to Fieldsville as Court spills her sob story about being the odd one out due to her devilish horns and how the church roped her into their spy games. Sable, the eternal nice guy, offers reassurance that she's not solely to blame. With Luke and Sable cornered by Terrance's imminent wrath, chaos ensues as Luke's power threatens to turn the forest into a magical fireworks show. Miraculously, everyone survives, though Luke wastes no time in scolding Sable for his reckless magic usage, hiding Luden behind a bushel to drive home the point. Later, seeking wisdom amidst the chaos, Sable turns to Luke, questioning how they all managed to survive the catastrophe. Luke, in her infinite patience and perhaps a touch of exasperation, lectures him on the intricacies of magic control. Meanwhile, Kudo, on a quest to reclaim his tail, finds himself the butt of Hort's teasing about using it for magical experiments, prompting an exasperated outburst that could have roasted her over an open fire. Later that night, while Sable watches the stars, Hort brings in hot milk and asks if he thinks she's a traitor. Sable, ever the trusting sweetheart, reassures her that he doesn't suspect her of anything nefarious, though secretly he's still not sure if she's a magical saint or budding supervillain. In a moment of vulnerability, Hort removes Sable's hat, intriguing choice of intimacy there, and invites him to touch her horn, revealing her complicated past of purifying souls for the church. Sable, stunned by the sudden turn of events, wonders if this is a common bonding ritual in magical circles. Hort spills her life story about beast fallen and witchy existential crisis, leaving Sable more confused than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Before Sable can fully process the horn-touching session, Professor Luke swoops in like the wisecracking mentor we all need, teasing Sable about his lack of romantic comprehension. She predicts a love triangle brewing in their future, because what's an adventure without a bit of emotional turmoil, right? The next morning, after snitching on some academy mates to the church, way to make friends, Kudo, Luke, never one to miss a chance to stir the pot, needles Kudo about his magical handicap. Offended, Kudo insists he's perfectly capable of healing his paws and tail. Thank you very much. After some magic mumbo-jumbo involving healing phrases and Sable flexing his magical muscles, Kudo's appendages slowly regenerate, much to the relief of everyone present who was starting to wonder if they'd need to carry him around in a wagon. Their journey recommences with Sable in a moment of sheer clumsiness, knocking over a cart and earning himself a clay bath. Lou, always the quick thinker, suggests a detour to a bathhouse. Inside, amidst awkward conversations about life choices, Kudo spills his heart out about joining the mage army to bring peace between mages and witches, while Sable tries to share his academy ambitions before getting distracted by Lou's unexpected nude entrance, which rivals any surprise twist in a soap opera. As their escort mission unfolds, villagers treat them like royalty, thanks Professor Luke's local fan club. She schools them in survival skills, magic tricks, and the fine art of not burning down forests when camping. Sable finally feels safer than he has in 3 years, all thanks to Lou's maternal instincts who knew adventure could be so warm and fuzzy. Kudo, ever curious about Lou's plans post-escort, learns she's planning to rendezvous with the mud-black witch, who's apparently older than dirt and hungrier for excitement than a toddler in a candy store. Sable, finding Lou's adventurous spirit endearing, makes her blush with a compliment, cementing their bond as the most dysfunctional yet endearing magical trio. Just when they start feeling like the heroes of their own story, a boy dashes into their path, warning them of impending doom and sealing them in a magic cave for good measure. Luke's, always impressed by a good magic trick, marvels at the boy's skills just as a colossal beast decides to crash their party. With danger looming, Luke shouts orders like a seasoned general, urging them to run for their lives. Kudo, contemplating his life choices, decides to ditch his sword, focuses on saving the boy from a fate worse than detention. The boy reunites tearfully with his father, declaring our mages the saviors of the day because nothing says heroism like accidentally stumbling into a life-threatening situation. The priest, who turns out to be a member of the tourist welcome committee of the village, surprises Sable with his keen awareness of the field program participants. He grumbles about no-brain fools, but quickly backtracks, blaming his grammar on his general dislike for witches. Classic priest move. Leos, the unexpected defender of witches, jumps in to defend our trio, citing their heroics and saving him from the clutches of the beast fallen. The priest, not to be outdone in the dramatic retorts department, warns them about the danger of tangling with witch henchmen and drops a bombshell about some past intruder taking over the village. Because every good story needs a murky backstory and a foreboding warning. Sable, ever the Sherlock Holmes of the group, deduces that they've been dumped here because they're the Academy's troublemakers. Hort, channeling her inner conspiracy theorist, suspects the Academy wants to ship them off and out of sight. Complaining seems like a good idea until they realize it might lead to a one-way ticket out of the Academy. Cue nervous glances and whispered debates about whether it's worth the risk. Kudo, forever the voice of reason or attempted reason in this case, suggests rallying the church and the mage army to take down the witch. The priest, in a rare moment of candor, bursts their bubble with a reality check, hinting that the big leagues might not care about their little witchy village drama. Lu, the skeptic of the group, hints at deeper layers to the story, questioning the priest's motives like a seasoned detective in a crime thriller. Her advice? They murder him in Holy Communion. During their village tour, they stumble upon Ul's, Leo's father. The priest wastes no time in name-dropping them as Leo's personal bodyguards and the latest field program stars. Ul's, the local authority on all things witchy, offers begrudging appreciation for their efforts. As they continue their tour, they stumble upon a creepy mansion straight out of a horror movie, complete with dolls outside that could give Annabelle a run for her money. Lu, never one to miss a dramatic beat, vents her frustrations about being left in this spooky place by headmistress Albus. Unfortunately, her attempt at dark humor falls flat with the group, leaving her feeling like the village buzzkill. Hort, ever the proactive one, suggests packing up and heading back to the safety of Wyas, rallying support from the church and the mage army. But Sable, in a surprising moment of moral clarity, fears turning the village into a battlefield and suggests a cautious approach. Kubido tries to calm the waters, but Hort's not convinced and Sable's caught in the middle of a heartfelt apology tour. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Hort seeks solace at the church, pouring her heart out to Lily about her troubles with Sable. Lily, in a rare display of sass, throws the priest under the bus with some well-placed shade. Hort, ever the empathetic soul, blames herself for the misunderstanding with Sable, leading to some serious introspection and a binding spell from the priest that could rival any Game of Thrones plot twist. Back at their home base, Sable, Kudo, and Lux are on high alert, fretting over Hort's disappearance and following her magical breadcrumb trail to a creepy cave. Inside, they stumble upon bloodstains that scream horror movie cliché. Lux, with her usual flair for the dramatic, insists on pressing forward, convinced the witch wants a cozy chat. Kubido, not exactly thrilled with this turn of events, questions Lux's sanity, fearing they're about to star in their very own horror flick. Just when things couldn't get any more tense, Mercenary pops up like a villain straight out of a Marvel movie, offering Kudo a deal with the devil or witch in this case. He casually drops the bombshell that he's eaten Hort because nothing says job offer like a side of cannibalism. Kudo, rightly enraged, threatens Mercenary with righteous fury, while Lux and Sable exchange concerned glances over the magical target on Sable's back. But before they can even process this new threat, Sable gets yanked away by a vine like he's the protagonist in a twisted fairy tale. The priest, making a dramatic entrance, because he clearly loves being the center of attention, shoves Lux into a chamber and leaves her without Luden, sealing their fate with a chilling remark about missed opportunities for murder. After all, they could have killed him after Lux suggested it during their first meeting. Because nothing says plot twist like a vengeful priest and a cliffhanger ending. The room lights up like a disco as our white-haired witch enters, flicking her finger and sending poor Lux and a bloodied hat flying towards Sable. Talk about a grand entrance. Sable, ever the social butterfly, vaguely recalls meeting her 3 reigning years ago. The witch, clearly not one for small talk, claims she's been waiting for Sable, like he's the next big Amazon delivery. Louvre, ever the voice of reason, tries to intervene but gets dismissed faster than an expired coupon by a fake accusation. Our resident witch then starts throwing shade like a pro, telling Sable he's got the magical chops while Lux might as well be using a magic 101 textbook as a coaster. Sable, bless his clueless heart, starts questioning the witch about Hort, who apparently got swept away by a rogue mercenary. The witch, in classic villain fashion, declares her plan to conquer the village and make Sable her new BFF. Because nothing says friendship like a hostile takeover. Sable, in a moment of self-reflection, blames himself for all the chaos, which is totally fair considering he probably didn't expect his day to turn into a magical soap opera. But our determined hero isn't about to let some magical villain steal his thunder. He decides to cast a spell to save Lug, because priorities. Lux, ever the surprising lady, pulls a move straight out of a rom-com and kisses Sable, sucking up his magical energy like a pro. She then gives him a scolding that would put any parent to shame, lecturing him on reckless heroics and magical conservation. The witch, clearly not impressed by Lu's magic imitation, decides to flex her magical muscles and effortlessly negates Lu's spell. It's like a magical showdown, but with way more drama and less popcorn. Then comes the big reveal. The witch drops the bomb that her magic comes straight from Zero's grimoire, like some shady fanfic writer claiming ownership on the franchise. Sable, ever the academic, recalls the headmaster's lectures about this very witch and her grimoire. The witch, now seemingly in a better mood, declares herself the overseer of their field program and dishes out some cryptic wisdom that probably won't make it into any fortune cookies. Just when you thought the drama was peaking, Hort arrives to congratulate Sable, throwing hugs and good vibes around like confetti. She drops some backstory bombs about her father trying to turn her into an informant and gives Luce a solid pat on the back for playing along with her little test, because nothing says trust-building exercise like a witch with a grudge and a misunderstood student. Back at the academy, Headmistress Albus is over the moon with a letter confirming the trio's passing grade. Finally, some good news. Zero, still the cryptic guru, praises the students for not being the total disasters like last year's bunch. Party at Zero's place, anyone? Zero then starts pairing off students like some magical matchmaking service. Hort gets matched with the Mooncaller Witch, Kudo gets crowned the Immortal Mage for his skills and potential lifespan, hello, endless magic, and Sable gets praised for his magical supply, because in this village magic is clearly the currency of choice. And just when you think things are settling down, in comes the Dragon Conqueror King riding a dragon asking for our trio like they're the latest attraction at the local fair. Say what now? Kudo's all like, hey Hort, ever heard of this dude? While reminiscing about that one time his regenerative skills got tested at a circus, because nothing says promotion like a dragon and an unexpected job offer. Meanwhile, Zero, ever the party pooper, asks Luke if she's planning an exit strategy. Lou, the proud shepherdess that she is, declares she's here to stay and isn't about to let some power-hungry witch use Sable like a magical protein shakes. Zero drops a bombshell on Lou, casually revealing that Sable is her nephew and that his father, the notorious evil magician known as 13, is the one who stole her precious grimoire to create a realm of witches. Talk about keeping it in the family drama. Sable's life story unfolds like a dark fairy tale, assaulted by a witch, witnessing his mother's murder and inadvertently causing the witch's demise with a magic overload. Classic magical family dysfunction right there. Hort struts her stuff as the hand image. Kudo does his best Florence Nightingale impression at the clinic, and Sable runs a magic shop out of their home, because every quaint village needs a neighborhood magic supplier. Hort's magic addiction is real, prompting Kudo's disgusted eye rolls, while Sable reflects on his humble domestic life, complete with laundry duties. Who knew magical heroes could be so domestic? Lou pops over with a basket of bread, determined to drag Sable out of his homebody ways. She confronts him about his social skills or lack thereof, and warns him that doing Hort's laundry might earn him a few raised eyebrows. Lou wonders if Hort's got a thing for Sable, but our clueless protagonist is in the dark, surprise, surprise. Lou dishes out some tough love, patting Sable on the head and ordering him to gather tea leaves, because apparently laundry isn't his only calling. Leos, the trusty sidekick, lures Sable into the woods to hunt for tea leaves, where mice get grabby and Lily, the friendly forest dweller, helps guide them home. Meanwhile, Leos deals with his overly enthusiastic mother and her church drama, while the priest takes jabs at Sable's lack of wilderness prowess. Soup, bread, and honey from Leo's bee area. Sounds like a feast fit for a wizard in training. Back at the church, Hort notices Sable's bloodied sleeve, leading to a tall tale about wolves in the woods. Leuk swoops in, offering Sable a gig as the local magic supplier, leading to a rendezvous with a badly injured mercenary at Zero's place. Zero throws in a magical kiss for good measure, making Mercenary green with envy. Mercenary, Lute, and Zero discuss Sable's hermit tendencies, with Lute throwing a tantrum about everyone needing to level up their magic game. Mercenary nudges Sable toward the academy, but Albus, the skeptic, questions Zero's motives, because who doesn't love a little magical conspiracy? In the midst of all this, Lou finds Mercenaries' clothes at Zero's place and promptly ships them both off for an overdue sleepover. Meanwhile, in a carriage far, far away, the Arbiter gets chummy with the Beast Fallen, discussing their next dastardly deeds, because apparently even villains need to carpool. Sable invites Laios for a day out in town, because who needs tea leaves when you've got a buddy and a village to explore? Let's hope they don't stumble upon any more thorn-spewing monsters in their quest for adventure. Kudo, ever the Night Owl healer, reminisces about his days helping patients with infectious diseases using magic when Hort interrupts with news of his collapsed state from magic depletion. Concerned, Kudo's first thought is whether Mercenary bit the dust, a response that stings Hort as it dredges up past mistakes. Accusations fly as Kudo throws shade, calling her out for potential murder, and Hort fires back, labeling him a magic-deficient lizard. Workplace banter at its finest. Luke steps in like the adult in the room, urging them to stop squabbling about murder and handle mistakes more diplomatically. Hort decides to lay off the magic until she masters it, while Kudo limits his spellcasting to emergencies only, all under Luke's watchful eye. Of course, they both promise to behave, until the next spat. Sable plans a forest romp with Leos, but Luth quickly assigns them an herb-gathering task for a herbology lesson instead. When Kudo suspects Sable's getting off easy, Hort jumps on his back and Lu wisely suggests a visit to Zero tomorrow, maybe even a day off. Despite their bickering, Lu's motherly care shines through as she keeps them in line with a mix of tough love and KFC. Zero unveils the forbidden library up north, banned church books and all, sparking excitement in Hort and Sable despite Kudo's warnings about disaster remnants. But Hort's got a point. They're a magical dream team. Sword, Hort, healer. Kudo and magic supplier, Sable, who needs safety protocols when you've got magic, right? Zero puts Hort through her paces, teaching her tough love style while Sable tries to impress with his magic hands and fails. Lips for magic transfer. Cue the blushes from Hort and Kudo, quickly doused by Zero's sage advice to eat instead. Hort faints again, but Sable catches her, proving chivalry isn't dead, even in the magical realm. Sable's quest for knowledge leads him to a book with his father's name on it, uncovering witchy secrets and earning Zero's respect despite his shaky magical beginnings. He's definitely not just another pretty face in the magical crowd. Leos and Sable's botanical expedition takes a turn when danger strikes in the form of thorn-spewing spiky balls. Ouch! Leos gets skewered, and Sable goes into full hero mode, carrying him back to the village sans unreliable healing magic. Leos faints, Sable panics, and Lu comes to the rescue, but not before Sable gets the guilt trip of a lifetime from a black bird. Mercenary and Zero arrive, praising Sable's heroics while Luth and Zero work their magic to save Leos, leaving them both magically drained. Irony much, Sable's tears flow and Hort comforts him, because even heroes need a hug sometimes. Meanwhile, Leos, ever the storyteller, spins tales of Sable's monster-slaying prowess while Luth drops the bomb about the deceptive touch-me-not creature lurking in the forest, a real horror show straight out of a witch's bedtime story. Hold'em's off stirring up trouble at the church, dropping hints about disaster remnants to Mercenary, who's a bit slow in the uptake but finally gets the memo. He and Lily go hunting while Mercenary laments his lack of forest investigation skills, much to Hold'em's chagrin. It's all fun and games until the witches and beasts fall and get involved. Then it's party time in the magical hamlet. Hold'em decides to inspect the community, and like any good inspector, he manages to scare off the kids in record time. Lug steps in to inquire about his intentions, warning that the village will crumble if he ruins his use of a remnant of disaster. Talk about a bit of pressure, eh? Hold'em reveals that his master, Sora, trusts in Lux and believed that she would easily step up to solve the village's problems because apparently dreams are made of horses. He manages to convince her by offering Lu access to Zero's grimoire, which is like dangling candy in front of a kid. But let's be honest anyway, isn't she? Sable, in a fit of ambition, reveals his aspirations to become a top-tier wizard, triggering Hort's own memories of horror and probably a bit of envy. Luke exits stage left, leaving instructions for the trio to behave, because someone's got to keep these magical misfits in line. Meanwhile, Hold'em unleashes some kind of blood-filled capsule that releases arbiter chains into the forest, a surefire way to spice up an inspection. Sable makes a bold request for magic lessons in exchange for refreshing their skills, casually throwing in the expectation of reciprocity, because who doesn't love a bit of quid pro quo? Hort, in a moment of blush-inducing pondering, wonders aloud if magic can be transferred through a kiss, prompting an awkwardly hilarious exchange where Sable diplomatically declines and Hort tries to laugh it off like it's no big deal. Sabina almost adds some unexpected romance drama, but Hort swiftly puts a stop to that kiss before it can happen. Luth whisks Sable away to warn him about Leos, although it's not his fault, and asks for permission to take him out if he gets too strong. Sable, ever the gentleman, offers to school Leos on jungle survival down the road. But just when things seem to settle down, an arbiter swoops in behind Sable, slaps a sleeper hold on him, and whisks him away in a carriage ride through the woods. Memories of his mother's warnings about witches flash through Sable's mind as an axe-wielding witch demands his cooperation, or else his mother pays the price. Sable unleashes some impressive magic, which surprisingly impresses the witch until he turns the tables, delivering a fatal blow. The arbiter reveals Sable's identity and delivers a tearful apology for snatching him up, dismissing Sable's questions as he sees him merely as a tool. Just your typical magical kidnapping, really. Back at the ranch, Hort and Kudo catch wind of Sable's predicament and rush to the rescue, but they're intercepted by the arbiter, who's armed and dangerous since Lux took a day off. Luv, on the other hand, finds herself knee-deep in thorns, studying Zero's grimoire in exchange for her rescue duties, when she stumbles upon a young man in distress. because nothing's ever straightforward in a witch's world. Kudo sacrifices his tail for Hort to cast a spell, and with Tyrant's timely assist, Sable breaks free from his bindings. He promptly takes the Arbiter hostage, issuing a death threat if he so much as twitches while they rescue the injured man. Laux finds Hort and Sabina unconscious, realizing Sable's been abducted, an event she orchestrated to test the group without risking Sable's life, which, needless to say, backfired spectacularly. Hold'em arrives on the scene, labeling Terran's actions as despicable bullying and hastily accuses him of offing all 3 students. Cue the drama. Zero's none too pleased with Hort's antics, threatening to ship Terran's head to Albus as punishment unless she plays nice. Hort saves the day by spilling the beans that Tyrant can dodge execution if he delivers 1 student to the academy for a village defense test, bypassing Hold'em's shaky authority. Zero declares witches utterly useless if they're more trouble than they're worth, while the priests and mercenaries silence Hold'em, who suggests roping Tyrant into his troop-building plans. Tyrant, predictably resistant, reluctantly agrees after failing his mission, a classic case of magical arm-twisting. Hort protests, wary of church traitors turning on them, but Zero's on board with Tyrant, pointing out they're all seeking redemption. The priest, less forgiving, believes Tyrant deserves the death penalty for his laundry list of kills on the church's orders. Lily barges in, triggering a witch-hunting frenzy with Luth and Ludin cutting down witches left and right, because nothing says peace like a good old witch purge, right? Kuno calls out the bias in Lily's actions, arguing that anyone Hort vouches for can't be all bad, even if they've got a body count. Hort's, still suspicious and worried for Sable's safety, apologizes for her earlier doubts, and Kudo calls for Tyrant's execution to cease. Hort decides to keep an eye on Tyrant, who probably won't be going on any more solo missions anytime soon. Lux, in a rare moment of warmth, offers Hold'em some sage advice about kindness and improving his image because even villains need a PR makeover. She's more interested in her mother hen duties and looking after her little magical ducklings than chasing after the grimoire of Zero. It's all in a day's work for this witchy crew. Hearthful dishes out some hard truths to Tyrant. Murder isn't exactly the icebreaker you want at social gatherings. Tyrant, always the charmer, tries to intimidate her with a chokehold, because that's clearly how you win friends and influence people. Hort swoops in with a verbal spanking for Tyrant, who defends himself by claiming defending and killing are just 2 sides of the same sword, to be calls right. Harwell takes Tyrant on a tour of the community to teach him some manners, advising him that throttling people won't earn him any popularity points. Louv's ever the buzzkill, warns Tyrant not to make a habit of it. Hort, justifying her antics, claims she was testing Harful's nerve like a medieval science experiment. He's all set to crank up the torture dial until he realizes his victim's just a kid. Kumino steps in, sounding like a seasoned diplomat, shutting down the torture party and scheduling a one-way ticket to Wya's instead. Meanwhile, the priest makes his grand entrance with a stick, aiming for Hort, who deflects it like she's auditioning for a superhero movie. The kid wakes up and promptly calls out the priest for not understanding the church's goals, which probably include less stick-throwing and more understanding. Tyrant, in a surprising turn, is spotted playing kiddie games and teaching trap-making. Apparently, even extra-plords need recess. Kumino bonds with the kid over a meal that's apparently culinary magic. The boy's gourmet awakening delights him, though he's not a fan of the bitter sauce. Kumino, ever the food critic, jokes about mimicking the priest's sour face. Lily's cuisine earns her some serious street cred with the kid, who's reminded not to spill the beans about her secret chef skills. Kumino dishes out advice on handling beast-fallen cuisine and the art of politely vomiting if needed. Practical life skills, really. Back at the village, Kudo and the kid have a heart-to-heart about survival, swapping names along the way. Katie emerges from his shell, shedding tears over the church's deceit. Sable, in a moment of magical wonder, impresses Zero with his spell-casting prowess. Kudo and Hort, in classic buddy cop fashion, struggle to mimic Sable's magical finesse. Sable's not done causing chaos. He approaches Lux with a Ludin experiment, casually dropping hints of affection that leave her blushing and stumbling over words. Hort, ever the relationship referee, tries to halt the love train before it derails completely. Sable, undeterred, drops a bombshell about wanting to marry Lux and be her maid. Cue awkward silence. Caddy's flashback to church brainwashing and corpse-laden arguments against witches leaves him questioning his past. Hort swoops in with her trademark encouragement, suggesting fishing as therapy. Tyrant, Kudo, Katie, and Hort take the kids to the river, where Caddy's surprised to find himself trusting traitor Tyrant. Hearthful reassures Katie they're not in the business of hurting the defenseless, much to Tyrant's surprise, who knew Mrs. Hart's lessons included trust exercises with X-trap makers. Caddy's stomach growls louder than a lion at feeding time. Meanwhile, Sable barges into Zero's lair with bread and Tao, rudely awakening her. After a mandatory tea service, he drops the bomb about his latest concoction inspired by Zero's chicken scratch scribbles. Zero's floored that anyone can decipher her dad's handwriting, let alone find it useful. Sable, undeterred by her sarcasm, prattles on about magic potions, impressing Luden with some unexpected power boosts. He keeps the compliments flowing even though Hort put him up to it. Zero swiftly changes gears, but Sable's already spilling the tea. Literally, by the river. Cut to Tarrant, reliving his glory days of trap-making under Daddy's watchful eye. Known for his sadistic craftsmanship, even the priest took note. Hort, stirring the pot as usual, needles Tarrant about Hearth, who's got him tongue-tied. Hort, ever the peacemaker, pledges world harmony next. Suddenly, Caddy turns into a zombie, belly roaring for more than just brains. Tarrant swoops in to save Hearth, but oops, there goes his arm. Hort hurls magic at Katie, but the guy's not fazed. Tyrant, our disaster whisperer, diagnoses Katie's case of magic indigestion, barking orders like it's an episode of ER. Hearth takes charge of the kids. Hort's itching to fix Tyrant's arm, but he's too mopey without his weapon. Zombie Katie breaks out of his stone cage, ruining her Kodak moment. Tyrant's last stand lets Hort unleash her magic, promising Katie won't be meeting his maker today. Hort, oozing reassurance, casts Fogas again. Kudo's tail takes one for the team. Tyrant's gut's about to burst, but Hort's spell finally pulls the plug on Zombie Caddy. Pewdie, in a magical healthcare twist, patches Tyrant up good as new, even regrowing limbs. Disaster remnants sprout from Katie's crispy corpse. Tyrant's got a plan, lie low, play dead, and pray Luke shows up with Luden to vacuum the rest. Katie's untimely demise and the mastermind's antics hit Hort like a freight train, leaving her heartbroken and steaming mad. Tyrant, never one to shy away from violence, wants a piece of the mastermind, promising a beatdown. Stage advice rolls in for Sable. Don't sweat over not saving Caddy. None of them could have. Just when they're digesting this tragedy, the Dragon Conqueror King swoops in, ordering them back to Wyas before the whole place turns into a battlefield. Cue confusion and curiosity from the trio, prompting them to bug Zero for the scoop. Zero, ever the voice of reason and sass, lays down the law. No battling on the battlefield, folks. It's either follow orders or kiss Academy life goodbye. Sable, ever the rebel with a cause, gears up to join the fray, but not before swearing he'll be back, victorious or not. Zero isn't buying his hero act, calling out mages for their non-attacking policy. Sable fires back with his potion plan, roping in Hort, Kudo, and Tyrant for some mixology magic. Surprise, surprise, Zero considers graduating him instead of tossing him to the wolves. Zero tips off Luke to threaten the student revolt if they get sent back, pulling at heartstrings over the village's potential disappearance. Luke, usually a stoic pillar, breaks down at the thought, confessing her love for the place. Zero greenlights their stay and cooks up a plan with Albus to troll the oncoming army. Hort, unleashing magical missiles like it's the 4th of July, adds some fireworks to the mix. Zero's calling the shots, advising precision strikes while the enemy regroups for another charge. Hort pulls out her trump card, unleashing Flogas without so much as a magic word, hitting everyone and their pet rabbits. Kudo's down below, patching up the troops, while Zero's already planning the next move against the Beast Fallen. In the showdown of the century, a mercenary and demon-possessed creature throw down, shaking the earth like it's their dance floor. The mercenary, annoyed by Tudo's trash talk, goes full ninja, slashing off limbs left and right. Seeking reinforcements, the merc finds Zero, who unleashes a spell so epic it turns the sky into a gloomy blanket. They're devouring demons like it's a supernatural buffet, proving just how much havoc a wicked magician can wreak from a distance. Back at their headquarters, Albus, Torres, and Holden watch the enemy hightail it out of Dodge. Albus, ever the money pincher, asks Torres for the cost of these annual slugfests. Torres hovers way too close to Albus, making Holden green with envy. Albus, sensing disaster on the horizon, orders her crew to protect the masses. Commander Anders swoops in, but even their defenses can't hold back the remnants of disaster raining down on the crowd. Bishop Ida steps forward and claims to have the cure to their disaster. Albus, ever the wise sage, insists Bishop Ida needs to know the demon's name to lift the curse, accusing Ida of setting up his peasant army with cursed relics to create monster chaos and blame the witches. Lukes makes him swallow a Luden seed for good measure. Talk about tough love. Albus calls in the trio, Hort, Kudo, and Sable, to receive their diplomas from Winna's Academy. Tears flow as Albus praises their grit and faith. They pack up their gear and Zero hands Sable his father's memento, a book that's been a mystery until now. Sable cracks the code in record time, realizing it was meant for Zero all along. Tyrant stays put, Lily's all teary-eyed as Kudo packs his bags, and the priest, ever the sage uncle, urges them to hit the road without dragging things out. Livus ropes Sable into future adventures, promising to call shotgun when he's ancient. Kudo's not thrilled about their next gig, scooping up disaster bits from the Forbidden Library, aka Mission. Risk your neck. Sable is hyped about graduation and confesses his undying love for Kudo and Hort, leaving them blushing like a bunch of teenagers. As the trio travel by carriage to carry their bags and parcels from the village, Sable battles motion sickness in the carriage ride from hell, all while counting the days until he can see Luke's again.